Hey guys, I'm out here touching some grass, breathing in some air, looking at some geese. So I posted a video a couple of months ago documenting my first 30 days of social media detox, the emotions I went through with it and the realizations of what social media was doing for me. And it really changed my perspective and my relationship with social media a lot. But what I didn't talk about in that video is that even prior to that 30-day challenge, there was actually a lot of tips and tricks I used to slowly taper myself off of using social media before taking that plunge. A lot of these tips and tricks are things that I have personally used and tried, but also what my friends have also used and tried. And I felt like, you know what, it'll be great if we could share. I could share them with you guys today too. So that's what we're doing. Oh my god, wait, look at, they're like sleeping right there. I'm so happy I came out today. Okay, so anyway, number one, I have some notes here. Turn off notifications on all your phones. Now, I know this one's completely obvious, so before you click away, I already know. But literally, I'm surprised by the number of friends who don't do this. Please turn off notifications from a lot of apps on your phones because it's literally doing what's known as pattern interrupt. So a lot of these apps are purposely designed so that you can log onto their app more, and then you can actually use their app more because that helps them justify to their investors why the investors should continue putting money into their app. But if you turn off notifications, you'll be surprised because in your day-to-day life, like what if you're literally taking a walk and you're enjoying these geese and all of a sudden your phone goes ding and then you're like, wait, did Sarah message me? And then you freaking check your phone and like you totally forgot about this geese. And why would you forget about them? Look how cute they are. Number two, follow anyone unpleasant on your social media. Like you don't really need a reason, even if like you want to be like, let's say you follow a ton of like fitness people and you're like, they are inspiration, right? That is awesome. They are goals. They worked really hard for those bodies. But if there's like a moment in your mind where you end up starting to compare and starting to get into like negative loop, like whether or not you could ever fit that type of beauty standard, then at some point that's not a net benefit. Why would you do that to yourself? In your day-to-day life, you're just purposely making yourself feel bad. For what reason? So really just unfollow anyone you find unpleasant, and if that person happens to be someone you know, then in that case you can just mute their accounts. Because think about it this way, right? Like in any normal situation, if you're out here at the park, there's literally nothing to make you feel bad. Right? Versus if you open up your phone and you look at this person, automatically you feel a little bit bad. Like, why did you need to do that to yourself, huh? Why? That's a little masochistic of you, not gonna lie. So just unfollow people and you'll be so surprised because the more you kind of cut the fat off of who you're unfollowing, the more social media actually becomes more pleasant for you, where the only people you follow are things that make you feel good. And if you're gonna use social media as an escape mechanism, you best believe it better make you be feeling good, okay? Because if not, I'm gonna hunt you down and I'm gonna ask you why you're such a masochistic little bee, and I'm just gonna smack you there if you like it so much, okay? A little unhinged today. Okay, tip number 3 is to place your social media app in like a folder within a folder on your phone. What this does is create friction and makes it less convenient for you to open up your app. And with this friction, you're able to have a moment of like, instead of unconsciously and like habitually clicking on an app and just opening it without thinking, you are forced to think about it a little bit because there's friction there. And this is a technique I learned from Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the cool thing about that book with friction is essentially that for the habits that you want to promote more into your life, you want to decrease the friction in getting you to do it. So for example, if you want to go work out more in the morning, you should have your workout clothes already near the door and you just need to slip on those like running shoes and go. Versus for habits you want to wean off of and get away from, then you want to create more friction, make it harder for you. So let's say I want to eat less snacks. I make it really hard for myself to find the snacks in the house just to eat them, or just not even have them in the house in the first place. And if I actually am craving ice cream, I better go out and buy it. So the same thing is with social media apps. The only issue with this like folder within a folder method is that while it creates friction, when I tried it, I kind of got really frustrated and annoyed that I had to click so many folders just to get to the social media app, which sounds like something a person who is addicted to social media would do, right? If you're addicted to anything and you don't get it, you immediately get irritated or frustrated and cranky. That's terrible. So the actual solution to addiction, aside from creating a buffer to being conscious of your actions, is mindfulness. And if you want to add an extra layer of pattern interrupt that benefits you, okay, so we're pretty much taking human psychology, and instead of the apps using it against us, we are going to use that knowledge of human psychology and have it work for us. So tip number 5 is to download the app ClearSpace app, because it's similar. It's a pattern interrupt. It stops you from opening the app right away. And so what happens is, let's say I have ClearSpace app for Instagram. I'll click on Instagram and then it'll take me to a page on ClearSpace that forces me and reminds me to breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. which is kind of some woo-woo shit, but it works, okay? So what it does is that it calms your brain down. Let's say you're irritated and you want something to soothe you. Let's say I try to open up Instagram to soothe myself, but that's like the immediate reaction. So instead, you breathe in, you breathe out. The mindfulness pretty much calms you down so that you can realize that, hey, I'm feeling a little anxious. It pretty much helps you with emotional regulation. It helps you catch yourself better. They make you breathe in and breathe out for a couple of seconds and then asks you, do you still want to go on the app? If yes, then you can make the mindful, conscious, intentional decision of going on the app. The main thing is changing our relationship with social media so that social media doesn't control you, you control it. You control when you want to use it, how you want to use it. You're more mindful about it. So that's what the ClearSpace app does for tip number 5. Okay, the next couple are all just pure about friction. We just want to make it hard to get onto the app so that we're more conscious when we actually decide to. One of the which is something I also did before was that I would delete the app. I would only access Instagram on desktop or on my mobile phone's browser. What I like about desktop is I can still check my friends' Insta stories and I can still answer messages, but I don't post on social media, so I don't get that feedback loop of validation when I post and then people like it. And it feels good, but then if you get too into it, you're gonna get sucked into it of that validation, and that's just not good anymore, right? And the thing is that if you've ever been on the desktop version of the app, it is very clunky, and so that just creates more friction because the app developers want to make the experience so smooth and seamless that it's so easy for you to just keep scrolling forever. But with the desktop app, it's kind of hard to scroll, and some of the videos don't always autoplay, and when they don't autoplay, you don't curiously get distracted by watching the video. You get to pick and choose which videos you decide to watch on your feed. So you're seeing the theme here, right? It's just changing our relationship with social media, just making sure that instead of it controlling us, we control it. Technology can help or hurt. I think the big difference is when technology is used as a tool versus when it's using you. And you know when you're using as a tool is when you decide to actively take up a screwdriver and like use it for a purpose, right? It's not like that screwdriver screaming at you to use it when you don't need to use it. You see the difference. Tip number 6 is something that my friend actually uses often, which is that she deletes Instagram on the weekdays and only re-downloads it on the weekends. Instagram makes it really easy for you to just delete the app and then re-download it, so you could just keep doing it that way. I personally also enjoy doing that because on the weekday I'm busy doing all these other stuff and I don't want to get distracted. But on the weekends, let's say I want to record some things I did over the weekend and then share it so that it could be archived and it could be a record in my Instagram archive. In that case, I do post on social media during the weekend, and I think that's a really nice balance. The other nice thing about deleting it on the weekdays and only having it on the weekend is that that friend of mine, she only then checks all of her messages on the weekend and then checks up to date on like what her friends are doing lately and then closes it and doesn't have to think about it for the rest of the week until the weekend comes again. So it's a really nice balance that she's decided to use for her day-to-day life. Shout out to you, Isa. And then tip number 7 is, what if you're like a content creator or you just want to post things, but the thing is when you post things, you always end up opening the app and then still getting sucked in, and when you were just going to take like 5 minutes to post something, you end up like sitting on the app for 2 hours, which has totally happened to me before. In that case, I use like software or services like Buffer, where I can just schedule my posts to have it go on Buffer and then let Buffer upload it on my Instagram for me. That little middle ground there gives again another degree of separation from just being on the app. That way it just uploads and I don't accidentally try to do it myself and get sucked in to like be on the app for 2 hours. Again, this is before I did the detox. After I did the detox, I was able to have like a better mindfulness to not fall into that type of pattern or habits before. But definitely if I ever fall into it again, it's no big deal. Forgive yourself and take another detox. I take frequent detoxes, and I think that's how I'm able to keep a very like chill relationship with social media, staying connected with my friends, using it in a way that reminds me of like old time Facebook where it was fun. Like social media is not evil. There's a point where it's fun and there's a point beyond it where it just gets really bad, and we're just trying to control for that. That was actually tip number 8, which is to do frequent social media detoxes. If you watched my previous video, I talked about how what you can do is, instead of setting a goal of like 30-day social media detox, because sometimes you might beat yourself up if you just don't meet those 30 days, instead do your best, and then when you hit like a certain moment, like, oh, maybe you lasted 2 weeks and you like scratched the itch and you looked at your Instagram when you shouldn't have, then just forgive yourself and then say, okay, so this time I lasted 2 weeks, let's try again, see if I could go beyond 2 weeks. And then slowly but over time, you're able to increase it from 2 weeks to 3 weeks to 4 weeks. We have all the time in the world, honestly, so there's no rush. but if there are definitely a lot of things you want to do in your life now, then this is definitely a priority and something that is a continuous practice. Okay, and now the last 2 tips, tips number 9, tip number 10, kind of require a lot of inner work. So they're less actions based and more kind of looking inwards, which is we have to ask ourselves the question, what is social media satisfying for us? Is it validation? Is it distraction from our stress, distraction from confronting a lot of unpleasant emotions, or even procrastination from something we find unpleasant? And the surprising thing is that the more we use social media to do this, the more we're delaying the chance to confront these unpleasant emotions, because that's the only way to really move forward. And usually once we confront them, they're actually not as bad as we thought it was. So tip number 9 is essentially something I learned from Atomic Habits, is that we can never really delete a habit, we can only replace a habit. So if you have a bad habit, you can't just force yourself to get rid of it. It's better to replace it with something else. For me, for example, social media was a nice stress reliever. It distracted me from unpleasant feelings, and how I replaced that instead was to, every time I felt stressed, I would just play music. So instead of going social media, I would play music, I would dance, and when I did that, I felt better. And I just kept doing that over and over until that I rewired myself to just immediately either play music or dance to make myself feel better instead of going on social media to distract myself. And lastly, tip number 10 is literally just to delete social media completely. I definitely do have friends who do not have it because they did the math for themselves of the net positive and the net negatives of whether it would be useful in their lives at all. And in their case, they just didn't find that there were any good reasons to keep it. So they took it out, and instead they connect with friends using a lot of chat applications instead and just talk to people directly, or we just do a lot of hangouts in person. For me personally, now that I have internet presence, it makes more sense for me to have it so that I can continue connecting with my followers, subscribers, and also my friends. And I actually have a lot of international friends too, and I really love being able to stay connected with them and what they're doing all on the other side of the globe. It's also helped me connect with a lot of creators who are also doing really cool things, and I honestly love sharing what I'm doing as well. So those are like some of the net benefits of having a online presence, but definitely it's not for everyone. Good afternoon. And last point before closing out this video, I literally could not be here talking with you guys, chillin', vibing, without the help of my friends, honestly. I think it's been a very big blessing that my friends and I have been able to have this conversation about our relationship with social media and been able to encourage and inspire each other, sharing our tips and tricks with similar to what I'm doing with you here today. Sometimes I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg, when it comes to building out our dream life and our dream lifestyle and how we want to live in our day-to-day lives. Maybe because it's something I care about, and so my friends and I, we just naturally gravitate towards each other. But I think definitely the key, if you don't have anyone around you who also has the same values, then I feel like you just gotta be the change you want to see in the world. Just be it, and slowly but surely there will be a lot of people who share your same values, and you guys will naturally gravitate towards each other. In a different video, I'm going to be talking over how my February went. It's been going pretty good, and if you also really enjoy just having these chats about what we can do to improve our lives and how that's going, then click subscribe. If not, if you're tired of listening to my voice, don't subscribe. This place here is just us chilling, okay? Anyway, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye.